Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Fire and Flair. I'm your host, Adrianna, and today I'm super excited to have my next guest on. Her name is Raven, and she is the psychic that I go to and tarot card reader for all of my questions and spiritual things. And I'm having her on today, so we're gonna dive in. She's gonna give a lot more insight into what she does, and I'm just going to let her introduce herself and not to mention she's absolutely hilarious and just has like this fire personality. So Raven, say hello.
Hey, what's up, people in the internet land and shit? What's going on? My name is Raven Rose, Miss Rose if you're nasty. I have been a tarot card reader. Now I've done it professionally now for 4 years. I've been studying the shit since I was like a teenager. So I am a tarot card reader, astrologer, and magical enthusiast, meaning like, yes, I do spells and shit. So if you want me to shrink the motherfucker's dick, well, okay, we'll talk about it, girl. But yes, I've been doing that stuff for a long time. I'm a big advocate into self-love, spiritual development, and of course, just overall being a bad bitch and having that unbothered energy. So I'm like, I'm super excited that Adrianna, you have me here today. So yes, let's get crack-a-lacking. Hit me up with questions. Grill me, bitch.
Well, I have so many. And I just want to let everyone know. So Raven, I found you through Holistic Happenings website. That's like my go-to place for whenever I need Reiki, tarot cards, whatever. So I had like reached out to you because I found you through there, and I still go there. And it's like this only hub of like, I guess healers and people that practice this that I can really go to, but I feel very lucky that I found it. And so I've had, I think, 2 tarot card readings with you and the birth chart reading. And I actually had mentioned you in my first episode about how you kind of were one of those, like, I think signs from the universe, or like that synchronicity that gave me the green light with the podcast. Cause you're like, no, you have the stellium in the 3rd house. Like you've got to do something. And so it already just like confirmed me going forward with that. And so I had brought that up. So now everyone gets to meet you, this person that, has helped me, I guess, find confidence, come into my own, and really help with the path that I want to go towards. So that's why I just love you and like all of the discussions that we have. So I guess like my first like question, and I think the biggest thing that comes to people's minds regarding psychics is like a lot of people don't believe in them. Like they think that it's all just kind of bullshit and like they're scammers essentially. So how would you like what's your counter argument for people, like being that you are one and you have this gift? Like, what do you tell people if they question that?
Well, first of all, if I wanted to be joining the scammer, I would find an easier hustle than this, okay?
You tell them.
So many easier ways. If I really want to scam a bitch, it really ain't this way, okay? Because here's the thing. You can tell a fraud psychic and a real psychic in T-minus 10. Like, you probably need 10 seconds to know if this bitch is full of shit or not, okay? Because the shit won't resonate, all right? First of all, and people are perceptive. Another thing I would like to say about psychic intuition, all that kind of thing. First of all, we're all innately psychic. To me, we're all innately psychic. There's not one of us who isn't. If you believe in psychology, particularly Jungian psychology, and you believe in the collective unconscious and that we're all connected through this collective unconscious, all that is just a psychic pool of information. You get to pull shit, look at shit, and see things in different ways, lights, and perspectives. That's really all it is. Now, we're all inherently, and it's like, like some people are just better athletes, some people are just better singers, some people can just, their third eyesight is 20/20. They can just see shit. So that's how I kind of look at it. I tell folks, I used to read at bars and stuff. So, like, when I was getting like, like, okay, it's like, oh, damn, rent this dude. And I'm like, nah, what the fuck do I do? I would just literally sit at a bar, play with my cards, and people would come like, oh my God, do you read cards? I'm like, yes, bitch. And I say, listen, look, either I'm gonna tell you something that's gonna stick and it works, or I just give you a funny story. You give me $5. How about that? And they're like, okay, because they win either way. And the thing is, if you don't believe in psychic, that's totally your prerogative. Listen, this ain't like. I don't get brownie points for converting people to believe in me or my abilities, okay? Plus, it's all about connection too. Because here's the thing, I've said some people sit in front of my chair, I'd be like, nah. They're like, sis, you can't read? I'm like, nah, our spirit guides ain't talking, so I can't see shit. But when the connection is profound and your higher self gives permission to my higher self, your ancestors give permission to my ancestors, it's just like having just a one-on-one conversation. And that's what it really boils down to. Again, an intuitive is not, a real psychic or a true intuitive is not going to force anything. He or she will allow the information to come in whatever feels natural, whatever feels best. She's not going to necessarily tell you everything under the fucking sun, because that kind of ruins karma. And we're all meant to learn, but to give you an insight, perspective, clarity, give you some things to work on for self-love, to get closer to your spiritual connection, get closer to your ancestors. There's so much more that goes into psychic intuitive work, and it's a healing modality. Above all else, it's not to give you the cheat code to life. It is to help you heal, giving you a prescription, giving you ideas of like, what practices do I want to take on? What kind of crystals do I want to take in? And every psychic and medium is different. Now, you're going to meet psychics and mediums who are very knowledgeable about the dead. Some aren't. You're gonna meet some people who know a lot about crystals, and some aren't. Some you meet people who know a lot about herbs, some aren't. Everybody has their specialty like anything else. I kind of am a jack of all trades kind of bitch, so I know a little bit about everything. I do think that a lot of my specialty is really in the higher self and personal development piece, that personal development kit. Because sometimes your higher self will have you go places that ego-wise you wouldn't go to, because you've already blocked that off as unsafe. So yeah, I just tell folks, just jump in. If you are skeptical about the shit, just try it, and try more than one person. I say you can get a second opinion. I support all of my brothers, sisters, and siblings who are in the intuitive space and who do this work. I have nothing but support and love for anyone who takes on this work, because the shit's hard. Okay, it's like the shit's hard. The shit ain't easy. You go through, sometimes you'll like go through all the sensations, anxieties, and fears and shit, just as your client goes through it. And it's like, what the fuck? And then you're like, you can feel so crazy sometimes. And then you do the reading or you perform the service and you're like, oh God, okay, now I feel better. And it's a lot. We're coursing through, like even going to the grocery store sometimes, I'll be like, I didn't really want to be in this person's head right now and have to reel my ass back in. The shit's hard,
Do
And
you
then
ever
you have
feel,
yeah,
sorry,
go
do
ahead.
you ever feel compelled, like if you are around someone and you're really picking up on their energy, like you're like, I have to tell them this, I really want to read them, like, or do you kind of just leave it alone and try to be like, eh?
Oh my God. Oh my fucking God. The stories I have on that topic alone. Okay. Because as you can tell, Raven's ancestors are nosy and talkative as shit. Okay, like they are. So I'll never forget. Me and my girlfriends, we went to a winery type deal. We went to yeah, it was actually an orchard, actually. One of those things. All I knew was that there was booze there and I could sample shit, and I was happy because Raven like a drink anything, especially if it's free. Okay, so we were up there, and one of the girls who was working at the bar. She was just, and I just saw her and I was like, oh fuck. And I get the tingles. I'm like, fuck. And I remember I was wearing a peach moonstone bracelet at the time. And something said, and I was like, hey baby, come over here. And she's like, hey ma'am, what can I help get you? And I took her hand, I took the bracelet off my wrist, put it on her wrist, and she was like, oh my God, that's so beautiful, oh my God. And I said, this will help you find the right one. Because Moonstone's all about intuition. This is going to help you know who is for you and who is ain't. And you're going to be happy forevermore. And she like looked like she was about to go burst into tears. And I was like, okay, baby, you got to work. She's like, oh my God, thank you. Thank you. And I was like, okay, you know, all the day's work. I have this kind of interaction, you know, frequently enough. Sometimes when I'm even going in the store or something like that, like the most recent one, I was at the store with a friend, and the girl, we were buying tarot cards, and she's like, oh my God, this deck is so cool. And I said, you're the Empress. You're the Empress card. And she's like, oh, yeah, you're the Empress. Act like it. And she's like, oh my God. I'm like, yes, bitch, don't let these bitches boss you around. So yeah, it happens a lot.
Yeah, I would think so, just because like sometimes I would feel so compelled to be like, I have to tell this person something that could really help them. So that's super cool. And like I say, so again, and I have talked to other psychics and gone to Reiki masters. And so my experience with every person is so different, which I also love because, like you said, everyone has their own gifts and kind of what they're able to see and bring to the table. But in the same token, like I feel like every person I've seen has been somewhat spot on, or there's similarities. Like it's not like things come out of left field and I'm like, well, why'd they say that? Like it's usually like, again, every person that I talk to, it's like, okay, that makes sense. That kind of relates to what this person said. Like they hit the nail on the head. You know what I mean? That's just been my personal experience. But like you said, sometimes you have to get a second opinion. And I think when you're open to it, that's also going to be more helpful for the readings and you being able to be more intuitive. Like someone that has a closed off energy, it's definitely going to be harder to like engage with them.
Well, it's kind of like, okay, it's like I'm trying to feed you and you won't open up. It's like, okay, like, how can I feed you? You can leave the old saying, you can leave the horse to the well, you can't force the horse to drink. It's like, and again, it's about interpersonal connectivity because my style, listen, I cuss a lot in my fucking readings, okay? If you ain't figured
I
that shit
love
out by
it. It cracks me up. You're so real and just yourself. And like, I love it so much.
yeah, and but I'll be honest, some people are like, can you tone the language down a little bit? I'm like, bitch, get out my chair. I'm like, no, we don't edit in the House of Raven Rose. Absolutely fucking not. Like,
Right.
sorry, not sorry. Like, it's like, you want me to be authentic and tell you what the fuck is going on? Yes, then do it with my motherfucking mouth, okay? Like, and that's like, like, I'll say this. It's just like, I tell folks, like, what you see is what you get. I am very, very, now, I'm an introvert, which is surprising. But when I read, I'm a total extrovert. So when I read, I'm in your face. I'm like, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, fuck this, fuck that. Ooh, you might actually want to fuck that. That might actually feel good, And I'm raunchy and it's just me. And that's just how I am. Listen, my ancestors, listen, they drank, they cuss, they had their issues, but they are good people. And that's kind of how I am. And I let them guide me. They ain't steer me wrong just yet. Sometimes I'm a little hard-headed, but they love me nonetheless. So yeah, that's just what you see is what you get with me.
Exactly. And you shouldn't change yourself and have to water yourself down. And the readings like wouldn't be the same if you had to do that. Like I personally love it because things that you say, like the way you word them, just crack me up. I just find it like it adds that extra oomph to the reading too. You know what I mean? Like just like how you said when you were instead of Goldilocks, you accidentally said Goldilocks, like, and I was just like, what? Like, that's so Raven. Oh my God, that used to be a show. That's so Raven.
We're probably gonna have a sitcom. I'm probably gonna make a podcast just with that title, and I don't even give a fuck. I might say That's So Raven Rose for copyright infringement.
Right.
I don't know.
Oh my God, you have to. That would be amazing. You literally have to. But like as I said it, that was so funny. I'm like, wait, there was a show and she was also a psychic. Like, yeah. So like I said, don't ever change. I absolutely love it. And then also so you just did a tarot card reading for me right before we started recording, but I did want to tell you, which I find absolutely fascinating. And what keeps me drawn into this is because you had mentioned that my throat and heart chakra are completely open. And yesterday I went to Holistic Happenings and I did like a sacred journey session with someone, which it's kind of like Reiki, but she said just different because she does something with like the occipital lobe in your head. I don't know. She would have to explain it, but I basically told her the intention I wanted to set, what I was really focusing on. And so it was opening up the heart and throat and making them connected. And like, that's just crazy that I literally had this yesterday and you immediately like picked up on that and knew. I was like, what? Like, that's why I was like, Raven, do you have a video camera on me?
Listen, they just talk. And I mean, the thing is, it's like with healers, like again, sometimes if someone worked on you, they'll kind of just cue me in on what work that was done. So I'm like, okay, I know, and okay, I just so I'm following along the same page, and because think about it, if if we're like healers, and it's kind of like like a hospital staff, except everyone's connected via telepathy. So if you go to like, let's say like orthopedics or something like that, and you get like a report like, okay, your foot looks like this and da 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 da. Well, you take the report and you give it to the next person who's like, okay, she's having foot issues, and you kind of build from there. So it's all about that, again, that collective unconscious. Like it really isn't that. This is why I also say there's no competition between readers and psychics and anything like that. So, sometimes it's a proper energy shift or not. Now I just noticed that my energy works better solo. I don't like anyone telling me what to do and how to do it. I just
I'm
don't.
the same way, Raven.
I am so fucking hard-headed, and I'm also a life path number one. So I've just embraced it. Like, fuck it. I like to be the one I answer to. I only answer to myself and to my ancestors. That's really all the fuck I care about. That's just how I roll. Again, no offense to like anybody, who works in a traditional shop or space, because those spaces are needed. But I love my online space. Okay, I like the fact that you tune in on a Zoom or you get a phone call and you're gonna get accurate information. And again, when I trusted that instinct, I can do mediumship over the phone. It's still the same way. It works when it wants to. I tell folks, when it comes to mediumship, you want to hear from somebody, it works when it wants to, because sometimes y'all don't realize they just straight fucking chilling, okay? They straight fucking chilling. They're getting their lessons. Some of them are ready to reincarnate sometimes and shit. Like, everybody's mediumship is different. That's not a specialty I claim. I do it at times, but it just happens. And like I said, every psychic is differently. Listen, I know about bullshit, okay? But I can smell a bad dick, a mile away. I'm like, ooh, girl, tainted dick. You don't want that shit, okay? I'm good at that. I'm very good at that. I can be I'm the fuckboy specialist. If you really want to know if your motherfucker's a fuckboy, you call me, okay?
Oh, yes. You are like very like spot on and just direct when it's like, listen, I don't even what you told me in my session, this little fuck boy is gonna try to come back, or this person, stay away from them. Like, I love it.
Right. And it's like, I understand you got a weak mother. So if you want to taste the tip, but then give it back. Don't come back for the shit. I'm just like, get your fix and move on, shit. Or that's how I feel. And again, I'm just a person. I, as a reader and a healer, I'm not here to judge you for your life choices. I'm not here to say you do this. I will give you my honest opinion if I think it's a good idea, or if the spirit guys think it's a good idea. But here's the thing. I believe that we all have chances to make shit work. So even if you do, do some, like I had clients like, Raven, I messed up. What the fuck do I do? I'm like, you forgive yourself, you love yourself, and you say, what are my choices? What are your choices? And again, you just work through it as best you can, and like I said, even like as healers, we do amazing shit. There's sometimes no quick fixes besides, just put in the work, put in the self-love, put in the self-care, release the judgment. And honestly, a lot of the shit is self-judgment. A lot of clients, and I'll say this I feel like I need to say this, especially since it's recorded, a lot of folks just torture themselves and wondering why they can't manifest. Like, you make a wrong turn, it's like, oh my God, I'm so stupid. I'm like, girl, you're not. you're good, you know. And it's so easy to be critical, where it's like we have to be our own like supportive parent, our own supportive best friend, and be like, you know what, I'm good, I got this, you know. Like that self-talk can change everything, because again, you're letting your lower self or your wounds talk to you and not your higher self. Like again, check with that. You know, the biggest check I want folks to do is like, is my higher self talking or my lower self talking? That's my lower self. I'm not gonna listen to that dumb bitch. But my higher self, yes, I need to honor that. I need to. And also, you know, keep in mind, you know, entities and spirits do exist. There are entities that love and feed upon depression, anxiety, all that kind of stuff. So we have to be aware to not give them what they want. And especially when it comes to like the low self-esteem and shame frequency, especially for the people who are more feminine in nature, like shame, it loves to feed. It's like, let me taste it, nom, 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 you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, bitch, getting fat off me. Like, this ain't the buffet line, bitch. Get the fuck out. You know, like shit. You know, it's just like you have to. And again, when you know this, the biggest thing you take from readings is like you know thyself. You get a better instinct on what do I do and how do I manifest. And once you pinpoint on that, like, oh, this triggers shame. Let me deal with this shit. Let me rework this trigger, or let me not put myself in this situation. And that's how you manifest.
Yeah, I agree. And that's why I think that probably like the biggest benefit to tarot card readings or astrology for me has been getting to know myself better, honestly. Like, it's not you just trying to tell me everything that's going to happen in life and predict things. It's picking up on different energies and where I can help myself. Like, just like, you know, how you said, pursue the podcast, tap into your creative side, forgive yourself from what happened in your past. Like, this happened, but you know, you have to stop beating yourself up. Like, those are all things that you have said to me, and that is why I love astrology so much and working with healers, is because at the end of the day, you guys are just helping people help themselves. And um I really do genuinely feel like I've gotten to know myself so much more, like talking with you guys, tapping into this, and it's very like therapeutic in its own way, you know. And I don't know, it's
Well,
just crazy.
well,
It's one of those things that's like hard to explain. And you know, the thing that sucks too, is that I find why people also don't believe in astrology is because there's technically no scientific backing to it. Like, but I don't know. Like, what
here's,
would
here's,
you?
here's the thing. Science and spirituality are essentially the same motherfucking thing. I'm just gonna put it like that. Science and spirituality are the same motherfucking thing. The only difference with spirituality is that it explains the shit that we can't scientifically quantify or
Exactly. Like, you can't base everything on science alone. Like, I personally think that there are just things in life you cannot explain past a scientific standpoint. I'm open to that. I believe in it. I know not everyone does, but when you are more open-minded and you do believe in more esoteric things, then it just makes sense, you know. But unfortunately, people are like, oh, well, if it's not backed by science, I don't believe in it.
well, here's the thing. Before even the scientific modalities, which I'm not knocking them, and there's a place in them for it, because people ask me health questions. I'm like, did you talk to a nutritionalist? Because again, there's certain things where I'm like, okay, you know, like you do need to talk to a particular specialist for that
Right.
shit. I'm not gonna, you know, poking
Yeah.
the here. But this is what I'll say here. The thing is that before these things came into existence, um, we had spirituality, we had readers, we had shamans, we had healers of various different types, perform readings, tell folks what's going on. In fact, they worked side by side with the physicians and the folks who did the hard shit.
Labeled the same as science, but I agree that if there was more of like, if we could merge like medical and holistic, I think it could have so many positive benefits for like the collective.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And here's the thing. You notice how all of these medical organizations are usually named after like a Saint Mary or Saint Joseph or Saints. So you're having saints who heal. Okay. Okay. There is a metaphysical component. You
Right.
know, our saints are essential, as angels are as essential, as ancestors, orishas, whatever your spiritual background, whatever your heritage, or wherever you come from, all those things are essential into your mental emotional health. Like people of color, like people of color are more and more becoming more and more connected with the Orishas because that's where we came from. So I've been doing more research on it. I've had other clients and other friends do more research on it. It's actually, changing the game for a lot of people.
Yeah, that's like, see, and that's why I wanted to bring you on to talk about it, because you have a way of explaining things like that's so cool and that's great. And you're right, like there's that, we name so many hospitals and organizations after saints, so it's like if you think about the history of it, like it's, where is some of that coming from? So I'm glad that you made that connection. And then the next thing that I wanted to bring up was like, okay, so we have our third eye, everyone has a third eye, everyone has a intuition, and kind of like you said, how much you access that and your psychic abilities is up to you. I feel like, and I don't know where I read this could be me falling down a rabbit hole, but like I've read throughout time that essentially we've been taught to not listen to our intuition and activate our third eye for a reason, like because it's more of a control thing. Like they don't want people having access to that. Do you find that to be true?
Okay, so I'm going to say this first. This is Ravens and Ravens' opinions alone. Okay, I love your question, about how people, or let's say it's kind of a conspiracy question, like suppress your third eye and shit like that. So I really think that you can't really answer that question without acknowledging feminism. And again, I think I was saying before how feminism, hopefully this will catch, is not about one gender over the other. It's about gender equality. All genders, all points of expression of feminine to masculine and anything else in or outside or between, equal, happy, fun, have say. Got it. Now, what people don't recognize is that with suppressing women, we have ultimately suppressed, or feminine energy. We've suppressed that third eye because the third eye is about receptivity. It's a feminine energy anyway, because guess what? The masculine energy is speak, do, that kind of shit. The feminine energy is receive, listen, and that's the whole thing about being a psychic. You receive and listen inspiration or information, and then you give it out.
Yeah.
Now, because of that, and I think that really, again, a lot of that shit is tied together with, principles of feminism. And my magic is feminism, and feminism is magic. That's how I feel. Now, I will say this. I do believe, what's the word? What's the way I want to say this? I do believe that motherfuckers know what they're doing. Like, I do believe that we know what the third eye does. We know how this energy works. We know how this shit works, and we've seen it work. And it's either trying to, again, suppress or, oppress a certain amount of energy, but you can't. I'm just gonna tell you right now, you can't. You just fucking can't. It's going to, whatever we resist persists. Okay. So I do think that, it is a kind of I'm going to use the word mutilation because it's everyone's birthright to have psychic information. It's everyone's birthright to have intuitive gifts. It makes people that much more empathic, more sensitive, more clear. It lets us understand perspectives that we wouldn't understand otherwise. And I do think that it is intentional. When we look at any type of oppression, whether that's racism, racism, transphobia, homophobia, any phobia, xenophobia, any of that shit, any of that bullshit, it is serving to sever that connection to this collective unconscious, which is ultimately accepting of all things. So I do believe that, through these systems, and I thoroughly believe that it's because of these systems that it's cut off people's connection to life, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah, for sure. We're not living in this like world that we could be. The collective consciousness isn't as high as it should be. I think that's going to change eventually, but I do believe, and again, I can't remember where I read. I'm all for good conspiracy theory. Do I believe in all of them? No, but I genuinely do believe that, again, everyone has this third eye, this intuition they can tap into that can really help them live a good life, get in touch with their soul, lead you to good things. And it's it it's a power stance, like you said, and it relates to other forms of oppression that have happened throughout time, because people do become more powerful once they tap into that. I certainly do. You know what I mean? Like when they say, oh, living your best life, like I can tell you, you're going to get there when you trust yourself, you listen to your intuition, and you step into your power. And that's all about what spirituality and everything connected, like that's what that is. And like I want people to tap into that more. I think it's so important, and it really like bothers me and makes me angry that over time, like people that I don't even know if some people know they have a third eye or what it is or what it can do. And then there's like, people have said, oh, well, you're not supposed to open it because bad things can happen. Like, do you believe that's true? Like, if you open it, you can be more susceptible to like negative things or energies?
Well, like I'm not, so here's what I'm going to say. There is a duality and there is a spectrum of all things. As we can see, our guides, ancestors, and all of those supportive energies, we can also see some bullshit. But here's what I tell you. When you open your third eye, the bullshit kind of feels more apparent, and it's like, yeah, the bullshit doesn't want you to see it. That's the difference. I think people don't recognize that the bullshit doesn't want you to see it. It has more fun playing around with your ignorance, okay? The bullshit loves your ignorance. So if you don't see it, they're gonna continue, tying your shoelaces together and watching you trip because they think it's funny.
Right. Yeah.
Honk, 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 you're the clown, and so when you're opening your third eye, you're seeing truth. And the thing is, when you're seeing the truth of the spectrum, there's nothing to really fear. I have never met anyone who's opened their third eye. Now, you can go on bad trips. I will say that. My third eye, okay, when one of my third eye opening experiences, I confronted a trauma in my life and it made me bawl my fucking eyes out.
Yeah.
But it made me aware.
Right.
And I started to heal. And here's the thing, if I see a demon or some, shit scurrying or something else, I'll be like, okay, I see you, like, okay, fuck off, and I'll be like, okay, motherfucker. Because again, these negative energies prey on your ignorance, okay? Now, some people, there are different levels and different dimensions with the shit. So some people, take the shit they see like absolutely literally. And I'm like, nah, bitch, you don't necessarily need to do that. You need to like, sit with it. Some things are literal, some things are metaphorical. You know what I'm saying? And it's just about sitting with the information and seeing how it resonates. But at the same time, I tell folks, it's your third eye. It is a part of you. And you're seeing like that full spectrum. As easily as you can see some beautiful shit, you can see some not so beautiful shit, and at the same time you're going to have awareness to do something about it, because it's not all love and light. And maybe that's what makes me a little different. Love and light, yes, I believe in it, I strive for it, yes, but yes, there is that spectrum of darkness that we have to heal. And one thing with light workers is like, don't be afraid of the darkness. You're supposed to expel the shit. Okay, Ghostbusters on that ass. You're supposed to. You're supposed to go to the dark places and kick its ass. Like, come on now.
And
shit.
I like that you're realistic and you said there's a duality. Whenever there's good, there's bad, and vice versa, because you can, I guess, be somewhat open to both, and it's up to you to decipher which energies you're gonna give more attention to. And like again, tapping into your intuition is just feeling and knowing. There's no right or wrong answer, and you're gonna pick up on like things that are negative and bad, and hopefully like if you're aware of that, you'd be like, okay, no, I'm not going to go there. Like that's negative. Like I recognize that. So it is up to the individual. And I don't know. I think mostly though, it's like just opening your third eye is really just going to like help you just tap into yourself more, I think is the most important thing. And I'm wondering, so there's obviously substances out there that can help you do this. Yes.
Substances, yes, we have LSD and all that other shit, whether you want shrooms, ayahuasca, there's
Right,
shit out there.
peyote. But do you think that those hallucinogenics, because some of them like ayahuasca, like that's used in like shaman practices in like different countries, like it's a very like legitimate thing. So do you think that they use them because it does help you connect with your third eye? Yeah. Do you think things like ayahuasca and LSD, like those can actually help you connect with your third eye and open it?
So drugs can, like, okay, LSD, psychedelics, they can, but they can also send you to different areas, or they don't open. I'll say this, they open things up, they may not always open your third eye.
I see.
Okay. Sometimes they'll open up a wound so you can heal it. Sometimes they open up, this a piece of your subconscious that you have been blocking. So when people go on psychedelic trips, you always want to. So here, I'm not an anti-drug type person. You know, I'm just not. To each their own. That's kind of like my philosophy on it. If you know your body can handle it, great. If you know you don't like this shit, then don't consume the shit. Okay, do what's right for your body. Do what's right for your spirit. Okay. What I will say is this: is that you have to take the shit intentionally. If you are going to use psychedelics to enhance your third eye or do any kind of spiritual working, you have to set an intention. You know, let's say you set the intention, I want to do shadow work. And so I need to see the parts of my subconscious that I've locked away.
Mhm.
Then you can go on the trip. You'll have the protection. You'll know your higher self and lower self will make an agreement and figure out a way to get you to that point safely. Now, I will say this, people who just take the shit just to take the shit, you don't know exactly what you're opening up to because yes, shit has energy. It does. I'm not even gonna fucking lie. Shit has energy. So for example, like, because it's like when I used to like go out with some of my friends and we would go to these raves and houses and shit like that. And there was like, you know, energies in there. And I would, you know, you take something, you're like, fuck, I don't like this shit. Let me not.
You don't like
But
the
if
vibes.
Yes. It's like if the place has been like, you know, I really do think people should sage and get their crystals before they start taking the shit because it will ultimately help you see and understand and recognize energy versus, you know, just seeing a bunch of bullshit and then being like triggered because sometimes we do just trigger ourselves when we take that shit because again we're unlocking parts of our subconscious that we aren't necessarily aware of or prepared for. So create sacred space. If you're gonna do that kind of shit, it can and help, but make sacred space. Sage that bitch, you
Yeah,
know,
I
pray
agree.
over the shit.
Yeah, and that's why they say like when you take that stuff, who you're with and your environment plays a huge role. Like they say, do it with someone you trust. Be in like at home where you're somewhere where you're comfortable. Like if because if you're not, like if you are around weird people or bad energies, like it's totally gonna amplify that and like you're not gonna have a good trip. And also I think what you're going through mentally too can like be a big part of that. But I just felt like I wanted to I guess bring up
Mhm.
that there are like certain things that can kind of help, you know, like open yourself up to that and maybe like amplify that third eye energy or whatever. I haven't personally done any of that. I want to at some point, but in a responsible way.
Well, here's the thing. Mugwort, for example, and you just smell that shit and you're like, whoa. And it might, and again, it doesn't have like, you know, exactly THC, but it produce kind of a light psychedelic effect. You could also do like teas, like, you know, mugwort tea. Yeah, some people have very lucid dreams on that stuff. And it's usually safer than, you know, your traditional, you know, psychedelics, or you don't trip as hard, if that makes sense. You know, mugwort is great for it. You know, things like mullein is another one that's really, really good. Catnip. People don't realize, but catnip it creates all kind of psychedelic effects. Plus, it amplifies your love vibration. So,
Oh,
yay. Yeah.
wow. That's super interesting. So like would you just smoke catnip then? Like how would you ingest it?
I prefer smoking, and like all the herbs. I personally think they're better when you smoke them. You can
Yeah.
use them as incense blends, like loose incense blends, like grind them up and put them on a charcoal, and just let the incense you know, inhale it while you meditate or lay down, and it will, you know, trigger stuff. But I think, you know, like you get yourself a little pipe and you actually smoke it. I am a big fan of that. I used to do a lot of smoking blends, especially like mugwort, because mugwort would actually kind of declutter my third eye. Like, let's say I was just seeing so much shit, because anyone who does Reiki is like, your third eye is so big. I'm like, bitch, what do you think? Work on my heart chakra. My heart chakra's shutting down. Shit. You know, that's
Yeah,
the thing. When I go
mugwort sounds like something from like Harry Potter. I'm like, what? Like I have to try this.
you have to. It's a great. It's so fucking great.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to keep that in mind. Oh, my last question regarding this. So, do you know anything about DMT?
DMT. I'm not a huge. I'm not super knowledgeable on the shit. I'm gonna let you know right now. Raven Rose in the sheets is experimental as fuck. When it comes to drugs, I'd be scared of shit, okay?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, for sure. Yeah, because it could be very hit or miss. You don't want to like, you have to be smart with it. So, again, when we talk about this, it's just being smart and not doing something that's going to like put yourself in danger or where you will have a bad trip. But I find all of this so fascinating, which is why I want to like dive deeper. So yeah, that's why I brought it up to you, because like I've heard people who have like done DMT and they just have like these crazy like experiences or trips.
And again, to each its own. Like again, with any of the psychedelics, I haven't had anyone. Now, everyone in my personal circle, we kind of go in the more natural route, meaning we either using marijuana or shrooms.
Yeah.
Oh, ayahuasca, if we can, if it's accessible. But mostly the people in my circle that I run with, it's marijuana or shrooms. And DMT, I don't, like I said, I'm not very well knowledgeable about it, so I'm not going to have like a big opinion on it. But like I said, but the same rule applies. Do it in a safe place, sanctify the fuck out that
Right.
place. But
Sage, sage, sage. Get the good vibes flowing first.
yes, yes, kick anything that you don't want in there out, energetically or physically,
Right.
and have yourself a trip and calling your ancestors, calling your protection guides, calling it whoever the fuck you need to call in, Archangel Michael or some shit. People think angels are kind of stuffy. They're actually real chill. Angels are way less judgmental than people think they are. Trust me.
Yeah, well, that's good to know. And then, wait, was I going to ask you something about that?
I think you were. That's why I brought it up.
Really? Well, because like I see angel numbers like all the time now. Like I actually, the first time I even knew what that was is because I had a dream, and I feel like dreams are where I get the most like, it's weird. It's like my like accessing my third eye or intuition, I feel like comes through a lot in dreams for whatever reason. So it was like almost 2 years ago, I had a dream, and I was looking at a TV and it had a blue screen, and I saw the number 333. And I'm like, I've never dreamt of a number that clearly before. Like, what does that mean? So then I looked it up, and sure enough, it was an angel number. And I was like, I didn't even know what those were. And now, since then, I see them all the time. Like, they don't stop.
Oh yeah, I've been seeing a shit ton of them driving. 222 has been a big one for me personally.
Me
So
too. I was just telling my mom I've been seeing that one like crazy, like it won't go away. And then I always look up like, why am I seeing this? What does it mean? So like, what would you like? Why do people see that? Why does it come to people? Like, does it come into your life for a reason, or is it more noticeable to people for a reason?
so angel numbers are a couple of things. Angel numbers are one, like they're either attention grabbers or in the sense of they're trying to get you to see repetitive patterns.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're seeing like the 222, for example, which is about the feminine energy, but also about love, receptivity, then it's like, okay, when I see it, am I being open to love or am I being blocked? Or what the fuck is going on with that? And like 333 is creativity. See angel numbers, they're usually confirmations that one, you're in the right vibration, or an intention grabber to check or get you in the right vibration. Either way, it's our angel's way of kind of going and saying, hey, look at this. Hey, feel this. Hey, you can be one with this. You can be one with this energy. Okay, you don't have to separate yourself from this energy. So I think that, again, on our angels, like I said, they're not really meant to be like judgy like that. Like again, not till you cross over and you say, okay, you review your shit and all that shit, right? But as we're going through it, it's like, okay, they already know all the possibilities. They already know what our choices could look like, in any way, shape, or form. They're just here to guide us. And honestly, they feel like as long as you're going to learn, whether it takes you longer or shorter, they don't care. They just want you to learn. So if you take two left turns before you take the right turn, they say less. We'll just go along with you. The ancestors are a little weird. The ancestors be like, bitch, I told you not to.
Right. So are angels and ancestors, are they kind of like they're all in your spirit guide family, I guess, is, or are
They
they
are.
separate?
There are. There definitely different types of entity. They do different things. Ancestors are more connected. Now again, ancestors can be both connected by bloodline, but also by spirit. I call it soul pact, meaning like, let's say in a past life you had two sisters you were close to, and you reincarnated, but they stayed on the other side to guide you. They're still considered ancestors, even though you're not in this lifetime anymore, right? I mean, this is why, like, for example, like I have like one lifetime where I was Asian, so one of my ancestors looks Asian, and I'm like, why? And I'm like, but I did have a past life like that. So I was like, oh. And again, but in my bloodline, obviously, I'm African American, Black. So I see a lot of my ancestors, as Black folk or Black women, Black men, that guide me. And basically they say, hey, I did this. You might not want to try it. Or it's like, listen, I saw this and you might want to be aware. And they can go far, far, far back. We're not just talking about first or second generation. We're talking about ancient. That's why, ancestries are so interesting because you can tap into the older parts of your bloodline in which they know a lot. They've done seen a lot. So they can actually help you, and ancestors are definitely involved in more in your mundane experience, I would say, because they want you to kind of connect the dots of like, okay, these are your choices and this is what you're going to do. Kind of like, again, what your family does. Try to help you make the best choices. They don't want to see you fucked up. Angels, now, yes, they're very light and bright and shit. They're vibrations though. Angels don't necessarily have bodies. Now, when they do take on a physical form, I find that they take on a number of different shit. Some of them have 6 wings, some of them have 2. It just depends. They can shape shift, and many of them do, but they're really a vibration. And they're really meant to just carry out the will of the divine. So when the divine, especially us light workers, says, okay, you're gonna help someone, you might go through some shit. You might be at a job you absolutely can't stand, but it is to help that one soul. And again, the angels will guide you with that one soul to do that very thing to help them. Another thing is you might be with somebody, you're like, oh my God, like you're karmic. And you're like, what the fuck? I hate this relationship. It's toxic, da da da. But again, that toxic relationship serves as your, skill set. Now that you understand what narcissism or whatever the shit looks like, you're like, oh, I can help somebody else who's gone through this shit. So you're never going through your shit, just because. You're gaining lessons, you're gaining clarity, and you're going to give that out. And angels are good at that. Angels will sometimes lead you to places where you're like, I don't like this shit at all. And they're like, we don't care. You're
Yeah, they're
gonna
like
love
too bad. Like this is for a reason. You're gonna learn your lesson.
exactly. And sometimes even your mistakes they put into account. That's why I say I only believe in intuitive mistakes, because every mistake kind of leads you to someplace else. Even when
Exactly.
in the minute you're like, oh shit, it's just like your angel's like, okay, it's cool. Like that's why they're so non-judgmental, because it's like you're gonna get the lesson whether you want to or not. That's how they feel.
Yeah, exactly. They don't care. Oh, that's funny. Well, I'm glad that you elaborated more on that and like the difference and how and again, a lot of people aren't aware of this and some people they don't believe in past lives or reincarnation. I personally do. But to each their own. But I'm glad that you were able to like elaborate more on that because like I said, um some people they see angel numbers, they're more in tune with like getting messages from them. And so I want people to be able to be more in tune with that. And then kind of like switching gears here, so I can't remember. Did you say you can read aura colors or no?
Oh, I can.
You
I
can.
can.
You really are a jack of all trades when it comes to like metaphysical gifts. You could literally do like a little bit of everything.
I'm like
Um,
a Swiss Army knife, bitch. You just tell me what setting to go to,
I
and I'll be
love
like,
it. Yeah, you're my go-to for a lot. But okay, so aura colors. I just find it so fascinating and cool. And then with that, like they pretty much like nobody has like a set aura color, right? Like they can always change.
correct,
Okay.
correct.
So like what would you say mine is right now?
You okay, you always show up either more pink or more blue. You're a combination of both, and which blue represents, throat chakra, and it's a very, blue is actually a very feminine energy, actually. It is. It's actually one of the feminine color vibrations, and pink, which represents heart chakra. So that's the empath in you.
Yeah,
Okay.
for sure.
So I see your aura, and sometimes I see people's auras even over the phone. Like they'll give me colors and shit. And so again, your aura isn't stagnant, okay? Does it is affected by who and is what around it. My aura tends to stay a lot more purple. I
Mhm.
have the time. It's usually purple and pink. Again, high intuitions, very empathic kind of thing. And then let's say I get around a motherfucker, then that pink just turns to red. And I'll be like, motherfucker, you know.
Right. Well, that's interesting. Okay, so you're saying blue and pink as of right now. That would make sense. Yeah, are some aura colors more rare than others? Like I heard pink is kind of rare.
Pink is kind of a rare one. I don't go by that, but I don't really go by that. I guess I don't because I'm seeing color all the time.
Yeah.
Personally, I see color all the time, and people don't realize, when you have pink. I mean, pink is rare, but pink is also you're in a space of true divine love, and I don't think that And again, the stuff that used to be rare is not so rare anymore, and da 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 da, and because again, especially look at the time we're in. We're trying to create more compassion. So I've seen more pink now more than ever, like shit, because we need it. We
Yeah.
need it. We
That's,
need it.
mhm.
So because it's funny people who say pink is rare because I'm like, it's never been rare to me. I've always seen that. I don't. Now I will say this: on tenths of people, you're probably maybe one of maybe three people that I do see pink on. So people aren't but that just means they're not in their heart space. I don't think the color is all that rare. I just think that people have a hard time connecting with that energy because it
Right.
is ultimately a high vibrational color. It
Right.
is.
Okay, that definitely makes sense. And then when I was at Holistic Happenings a couple weeks ago, when I got Reiki, there was someone there who could also kind of read aura colors too. And at that time, she said I was showing like orange and white, like a creamsicle color, and she said orange
Oh, I can see that.
is related to creativity. So again, with like that creativity aspect, which you had just brought up in my reading right before we did this, you're like connect with your sacral chakra that's associated with the color orange, tap into that creativity. So again, it's like there's always some sort of connection when I talk to like just different healers and people like in this space, that and that's why I keep coming back and I find it so fascinating.
Oh yeah. Now when we're talking, especially like the orange, because sacral chakra, and again, the chakras do have specific colors, which is why, depending on which chakra is resonating the strongest, is what you get. My chakras, I tend to get my blues and purples and violets a lot because look at
Yeah,
what the fuck I do.
yeah, for
My
sure.
yeah, my heart chakra, I always do heart chakra work because that bitch always wants to shut out. It's like, again, my soul, my life experiences, I tend to deal with a lot of grief. And lately, I've been dealing with a lot of people who have been grieving a lot of things, not just death in like your traditional sense, like, oh, someone passed away, but grieving relationships, grieving, situations that didn't come through. And so I've been doing a lot of that work. I've been, doing that a lot, you know.
Yeah,
That's
that
a big
totally makes sense because you're like you said, you're very empathic. I know the color purple a lot of times is associated with like people that are tapping into their psychic abilities and intuition. So yeah, definitely spot on. And then again with the aura colors, because I just had my heart and throat chakra like balanced and open yesterday, and again it's just I love it, it's all connected. It's I don't know, it's amazing to me honestly, like those are the only words I could really describe it as.
well, girl, we're trying to help you. Shit, and here's the thing: I wouldn't be a good person if I just didn't, recognize, okay, like what you're going through, what you need, what helps.
Kind of the last thing that I wanted to touch on was birth charts, since you are very good at that part of metaphysics, and it's something. So I didn't even know what a birth chart was until like a year and a half ago. And like I have an uncle who's like very into astrology, and he was trying to tell me like what my big three were. He's like, well, this is what your emotions are, this is your personality. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like you're just gone off the deep end. But then I started looking into it. I'm like, oh, he actually knows his shit. Like, so once I learned more about it and I saw that you had done birth chart readings, I was like, I gotta do this. And like, it was so cool. And like, now when I meet people or like my family, I'm like, okay, this is what your big three is. Let's calculate your birth chart. Like, I'm like obsessed with it. So, can you, I guess, tell everyone like what is a birth chart? Why is it important? Why should everyone know about it?
So when it comes the first divination system I ever picked up, and really what's so fascinating about astrology that it was a psychological modality before psychology was really, even taken seriously, because it looked at the personalities of the elements and also related it to the stars and the aspects. And really when we're looking at Western or tropical astrology, which is like So I'll also explain there are different types of astrology. Tropical astrology really does focus on the person and then the self. Esoteric astrology, which is a one that I am getting into and I love it. It's probably my favorite form of astrology. It's more of understanding your higher self and your soul. So the reason why, we get astrology charts is not just because it can tell us, when we would, get the right job, what kind of hardships we would expect, when we could, have certain things in life or accrue certain things in life. It tells us really a really intricate and intimate landscape of our personality, what our triggers are, what works for us, what gaslights us, what hurts us, what makes us happy, what makes us enthused, and what brings us joy, and also what we also, are naturally inclined to do. So, and again, when I do a birth chart, it's like, I will look at a person and sometimes I'll look at a birth chart more than once. Sometimes I try to look at it, at least a day ahead of time so I can see, marinate on the shit because it is a lot. Because when you see, like, for example, with you, Adriana, you had the stellium in the third house. I was like, what the fuck? Now, the stellium, it's the mind. The third house represents the mind, but it also represents the thinker and the communicator. So I was like, man, this happening to do something with the third stellium here because it's like, bitch, this is like what I would, it's perfect. It's perfect for anyone who wants to pursue anything kind of broadcasting, content creation, because it is so again, it will tell us, things like, we naturally are inclined to do,
Right.
how we go about it. And it's just like it's like if you're in, especially if you're into Myers-Briggs, like, holy fuck, you're gonna have so much fucking fun with astrology because it's so, and again, it's not just your sun sign. I'm a Virgo. It's all about the inner nuances. Yes, you have Virgo. Like, I'm just gonna use my chart for example because I remember it. You have like me. I'm a Virgo sun. I'm an Aries rising, which is why I'm so fucking fiery when
Oh,
you
I
meet
could
me.
see that for sure.
And I'm also a Capricorn moon. So I'm very guarded with my emotions, really, but I also tend to overthink things and I tend to want to do everything by myself, That's just how I do shit.
Yeah, it all like once you dive into it, because essentially I see a birth chart almost as like a pyramid or an iceberg. Like, yeah, you have your sun sign at the top and like your big three essentially, but then you see like what sign all your planets are in, what house, and it really tells you like I guess kind of the different energies in your life, your personality, how they're all connected. Cause like I still remember this. It like was hilarious to me. You're like, yeah, some of the planets have harmonious aspects and others are like, get the fuck off my lawn. Like, when you have squares and stuff, like I was like, that's such a perfect way to like explain it. So yeah, I just love it. And like the more that you
Should I say?
you're like, I said that. Yeah, it like made me laugh so much. But it's like the more you dive into it, the more I find it to be true. You know what I mean? And so I love exploring other people's and like, yeah, they're intricate, but when you weave through it, it's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. This is why I'm the way that I am. And like, okay, so for example, my moon is in Virgo. Like those are my emotions and it's very like analytical, reserved. Like I have to journal to process my emotions. Otherwise, I don't even know what I'm feeling, thinking. So I just find a lot of truth in it. And then while we're talking about this, I did have one question I wanted to ask. Now, I have Pluto, Jupiter, and rising all in the first house in Scorpio. So what like to you, what does that energy mean?
Okay, so you have Pluto and you have your Pluto and rising in your first house in Scorpio.
And Jupiter. All three of those are in Scorpio in the first
Ah,
house.
got you. So let's kind of break that down. So when you it's in your rising, so it's in your first house. Your first house is your identity.
Mhm.
Honestly, when I see Pluto in the first house, it's kind of it can take an interesting turn for somebody.
I feel like it's a hard aspect, is it not?
It really is because this means you kind of grow like your first house, your identity. You have to almost
go through these ego deaths or go through these kind of hardships, because Pluto is death. I'm not even gonna fucking cap on that. Pluto is a death energy. It is a taboo energy. It can be the energy of, addictions and all of this kind of stuff, because Pluto represents basically everything that needs death and transformation. So this means that, again, we can have some pretty intense hardships or pretty intense experiences, and also being very highly sensitive. But Jupiter in the first house is very expansive. That means your sense of identity is ultimately going to be how you change the world, ultimately going to be how you connect and expand to other people. But it's through these kind of ego deaths or these kind of, rebirth. You have, to me, when you put that aspect together, especially when it's in Scorpio, because Scorpio, and you got Scorpio, so Pluto's is actually exalted, meaning like it's actually the more prominent energy in that first house because it's in its native sign. So it's exalted, it's powerful, it feels like, okay, bitch, I'm about to, make you learn something. But in that sense, it becomes the phoenix, okay? Yeah. And in phoenix energy, you take your ashes and and it's beautiful. That's what that aspect's all about. This also means, because again, your first house is related to your ascendant, which is the mask that you wear, that people, you're going to kind of see through them. So some people can be immediately just uncomfortable by you because guess what? They have to face themselves. And they don't know why, but your aura is like, I'm going to read you the filth and I'm going to tell you why you need to vote. And they're like, I don't want to work on myself. I don't want to. Yeah. So
Yeah, that totally makes sense, because I do feel, and I said this to the person I worked with yesterday, like I sometimes, like, I have a lot of great harmonious relationships, but then I have also had like these people that are kind of like energy vampires, or they try to steal my light or my power, if that makes sense. And I think because I'm an empath too, like, I don't know, I swear it's all connected, but I specifically wanted to ask you about that. And then going off of like how you said there's that phoenix energy, like what I've gone through in the last couple years of my life, I do feel reborn. Like it was like the hardest time in my life, and I just feel like this new person. I feel stronger, like I've grown. So, and that's, again, this all goes back to why I love astrology and birth charts, and because it just is so like clarifying. And
well,
what, sorry, go ahead.
Well, especially like when you have the first house, I always think of the first house, it's like, you think of like, anything that's your formative. So let's say like any big, say any big new beginning stage. So a lot of times, right when you're born, you're like, oh fuck, you get dropped as a child. It's like if Pluto started teaching you, get up, like when you go through your teens, and especially like when you have like something like that. So for you personally, I would pay attention to like, when you turn, especially your 20s and your 30s, it's all going to shift. Like just when you think you know who you are at like you're 39, once you hit 40, you'll be like, bitch.
Yeah.
Because you're going to keep shedding skin. And that's another thing about Pluto. It's going to be like a shedding skin kind of sign. So you're kind of be in this constant revolution of sorts. And really, you're going to be satisfied with yourself one day and then be like, oh, fuck, I got to change everything. And it's okay. One minute you're a minimalist, next minute you're a maximist. It's kind of how it rolls.
I see. Okay. Yeah. I wanted you to elaborate more on that specifically. So I'm glad you did. And again, I hope it helps other people like see, like, okay, when you start dissecting your birth chart, it's going to help you understand yourself more. And like, I just realized, so your big three is Aries, Virgo, Capricorn, but we're switched with our sun and moon. So like I'm Capricorn sun, Virgo moon, but you're Virgo sun, Capricorn moon, which is really interesting. But I think that's why we get along and like feed off each other so well.
Exactly. And all of my best friends are Capricorns. Every single one of my best friends are Capricorns. And I love them to fucking no end. And we get each other, and it's always a harmonious exchange of energy, But I always get along with winter signs. Sag, Aquarius, Capricorn, Pisces. And all of my friends are either, actually my bestest friends are either Capricorn or Pisces.
Yeah, I'm saying that.
Because again, with like the Pisces energy, it's like it's my polar opposite, but I'm already so like in tune with my femininity anyway, or in tune with my like intuitive aspect. Like I understand Pisces because we be making the same. Although it'd be dangerous because we'd be like, bitch, we want to go drinking. Ooh, let's go drinking. Do we want?
That goes off of like the elements that are associated with each sign. So you have like fire, water, air, earth. And so water and earth signs are going to naturally kind of feed off better energy. Same with like the fire and air.
Exactly. Fire
That
and air tend to feed off each other.
Mhm.
Water and earth tend to feed off each other. It's not to say that, and again, you have elements that clash. Like let's say, but they clash and they can work. Like air sign and earth sign, for example. It's like the wind can blow, the earth will not. It'll be like, fine, you move a rock, okay? You can move a rock, okay? And then the air is like, I'm gonna be a tornado. And I'm like, well, bet, motherfucker. And then we just, clashing and it's just a dust storm, you know? And in some cases, it can be harmonious because when you understand that earth can be solid and still, it gives air the freedom just to do whatever. Still, it's one of those aspects that you have to kind of balance out all the time and check in. Let's say if you're dating someone when like, oh my God, they're an earth sign, but I am a fire, becomes ash. And the fire signs I've noticed the fire signs in my life purify me one way, shape, or form. I may not like them in the moment, but I am purified.
Yeah.
I go from a lump of coal to a pretty ass diamond. I'd be like, okay, thanks, fire sign.
Right. Yeah. It's not like, yeah, I think that, all the elements, they interact with each other for a reason, even if naturally it might not be the most harmonious. They all serve their purpose. And that's why we have interactions with all different ones, and they make us who we are. So yeah, it's so interesting. Like once you keep diving into it, like the more like once I think I know everything, like I don't, especially when it comes to metaphysics. Like I find one thing out and then it's like, oh wait, there's this too. Like it's just always like I'm constantly learning too, which like I love. And like I said, now that I know more about birth charts, like you can ask like all of my friends and family, like I've done it for almost everyone. I just find it so fascinating. And I'm sure you feel the same.
A student of esoteric reading because a lot of things like esoteric astrology shifts the planetary rulers. You see a lot more of the soul personality and much more what the soul is looking for versus what the personality is, and integrating that. Like, for example, the biggest thing I found in esoteric astrology, which I was like, I have all this Virgo in my chart, like, what the fuck? And I'm like, and I don't follow all my Virgo traits. That's because some of my Virgo traits are on a soul level, not on a personality level. For example, the Virgo is ruled by the moon in esoteric astrology. So I'm like, why am I so goddamn sensitive? I cry at the drop of a dime. And I know some Virgos be like, whatever. They,
Right.
they walk around unbothered. I'm like, where's my Virgo energy like that? But that's because my Virgo personality or my Virgo energy is more linked to the soul aspect, meaning like it's that moon is high empathy, but it also relates to the fact that I get stuck in the past because the moon represents all our past karma and lessons. And I was like, oh, so it made me understand, and especially why I gravitate towards cancers all the time, it made me understand like, oh, I actually have a soul energy tied to the moon itself. I was like, wow. And it's, and it'll take too long to go through all of the signs, but yes, basically, if you want esoteric astrology and knowing more about your soul imprint, it made more things click because there were some things in my horoscope where I was like, and again, I have been studying this shit for like 10 plus years. And I was like, what the fuck? This shit doesn't resonate. And I thought, am I not driving with astrology because I could not get the amount of detail that I wanted? It just felt like it just was hitting flat or it's hitting a note. And then when I found, esoteric astrology, it gave new life to every fucking sign and made every sign this rich, profound, playing field for the soul to blossom. I was like, holy fuck. So in esoteric astrology, it's like all signs are like amazing. It's not just like on a personality level. I still think earth signs, we run this, I'm just gonna say. But
Yeah.
on the soul level, you really see how each sign is profound and what it teaches us. And it also makes it a lot more apparent why we chose to incarnate. So especially Virgo being the moon. So again, I help people understand their karma, help people understand their past so they can understand their future and understand, and be at peace with their present. Like that's what's up. So I was like, oh, this helps me a lot, a lot. And so it gets even more in depth. So like you said, just when you think you understand it, girl,
Right.
you will find a turn. And of course, off of that, I looked at my tarot cards differently because again, tarot and astrology link. I was like, bitch, it just changed the game for me entirely. So yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like I said, at some point it all kind of connects and relates, and like the more deeper you dive into it, like it's just crazy. All I can describe it as is essentially this rabbit hole, but it's amazing. And again, like the more that I fall deeper into it, the more that I love it and I'm drawn to it. So I want other people to fall down this rabbit hole too. And it's so like I'm just so happy that I found holistic happenings and people like you that can just, I guess, use your gifts to like help others and explain it even in like a different way than just reading it. You know what I mean? You
Exactly.
guys are like the messengers. You're like a very big part of like the messenger and the catalyst for just connecting everything and helping people like connect with it too.
Exactly. And that's the goal. That's what it's all about. Helping people and understanding ourselves and also being good to the planet because it is a earth-based spirituality. Earth-based spirituality, we do want to be empathic to the planet as well. So I'm trying to be, more prudent. I don't know why I felt the need to put that out there, but yeah, Mother Earth been going through a lot of shit. Let's pay attention to what the fuck she's going through because she's trying to help us heal. We have to help her heal.
Yeah.
Okay, that's enough.
No, it's important. I'm glad you said that too. And I just thank you so much for coming on. Like when I started this, like I knew that I wanted to have you on, especially to help explain all of these topics more. So thank you, thank you. I love you. You crack me up, and I just know that like I will come to you for all of my questions and tarot readings and all of that. And I definitely recommend you to people I know. So if you don't mind, I'm gonna put your like website and email in to like when I release the episode so people can find you.
Oh yes, pumpkin. You can definitely do that. You can definitely do that. I will say, y'all. I book up fast as fuck. So as soon as you know you want to, you better go get it. Because I be busy. Okay, so I'm just letting y'all know I book fast as fuck. But I give you the soul treatment. I kind of view all my clients as extended family, anyways. So at the minute I read for you, you become family. I'm gonna guide you the best way I can. I'm going to wish you well on your journey, no matter what the fuck happens. And that's just the thing. So if you want to be a part of the soul fam, and be a part of this crazy collective, that smokes mugwort and cusses, spirits out, then yeah, I'm your girl. So yeah, if you want to know that website, if you're listening, it's ravenrosetarot.com. Again, that's ravenrosetarot.com. Yeah, so you can go check out my website. You can schedule an appointment. It's super easy. I try to keep my price points affordable and shit, all that good shit. And yeah, if you resonate with what your girl is talking about, then check her out.
Yes, definitely. All you do all the metaphysical things. I can't recommend you enough. So thank you again. I had so much fun. I can't wait for everyone to hear. And that's a wrap for this episode. If you guys loved it, please subscribe, leave a review, just so I know that you guys are loving it too. But yeah, until next time,
Well,
sending love.
bye, y'all.